There is no denying that flights are becoming increasingly more expensive, which is why low-cost carriers are the fastest growing sector in the aviation industry. However, flying long distance comes with its own set of challenges, which is why search for terms such as premium economy and budget business class have been on an upward trend. And so if you've ever wondered whether a budget airline is capable of delivering a full business class experience, well then, this video is for you. Because AirAsia claims to do this at the price of an economy ticket from a non-budget airline. But is it true? Is it worth it? Well, this is my honest review of my experience on an AirAsia X Premium Flatbed from Kuala Lumpur to Sydney flight. I'm going to be covering absolutely everything you want to know, from price point, check-in experience, premium benefits, all the way up to the actual flight experience, so that you will have all the information you need to decide for yourself if the AirAsia X Premium flight is worth booking for your next trip. And so without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? Let's start with the question that every single one of you is asking by this stage, which is price point. This flight with the premium flatbed from Kuala Lumpur to Sydney cost me around 1,582 Aussie dollars. And just to give you some benchmarking data, in comparison, the same flight segment on the same dates on the next closest airline, aka Malaysia Airlines, would cost me 3,708 Aussie dollars. In fact, for interest's sake, I also searched up Qantas. Qantas flights for the same route and in their premium economy section, which is the closest equivalent to this, would cost me 3,244 Aussie dollars. And that actually comes with a layover in Singapore instead of direct. And also you have to fly Jetstar Asia on the Singapore to Sydney flight segment. Okay, you get the point. The AirAsia Premium Flatbed certainly delivers on the price point and the budget business class front. What benefits do you get with it though, Steve? That's a good question. Let's get into it. So as you can see here, you get a complimentary meal, coffee or tea, and water, which are add-ons that you would have to pay for otherwise in an AirAsia economy flight. I also find it quite interesting that you get lounge access. AirAsia does actually have an AirAsia Premium Red Lounge, which is incredible given the price point. But let's get to the benefits that interest me the most. First and foremost, you get a whopping 40 kilos of luggage allowance with the ticket, which would otherwise cost you about 140 Aussie dollars each way. A fantastic benefit if you're planning to do a lot of shopping. You'll also get to skip the queue at all flight segments, and if you have taken an AirAsia flight before, you know how big of a deal this is. You'll also be placed in Zone 1, which means that you'll be amongst the first to board the flight. With the price point and benefits out of the way, let's now talk about the actual flight experience. The actual flight also contains some things that I didn't like as much or feel could be improved, which would be remiss of me to not mention. The first kind of snafu that I did hit was that even though you do get a 40 kilo check-in luggage allowance, your carry-on cabin baggage allowance is still 7 kilos, regardless of whether you're flying economy or in their premium flatbeds, which I feel could be a bit low, especially if you're someone like me who has to carry their laptop everywhere as well as their recording gear. And yes, to answer your question, they definitely do check and will weigh luggages at the security clearances. Luckily, I was just under 10 kilos, but I have noticed a lot of people who were turned away and were asked to purchase additional cabin luggage allowance. Snafu aside, this is definitely something you want to keep in mind if you're planning to take an AirAsia flight in the near future. Specifically, if you do not plan to purchase any check-in luggage but think that you could exceed 7 kilos in terms of your cabin allowance, I would recommend purchasing that extra luggage allowance before checking in for your flight, as it will be much cheaper than purchasing it on the day itself. The second is super minor and really is much more of a personal preference. In fact, most people would not notice it at all, and to be clear, is something that I can accept given the price point. But this flight was an Airbus A330, and the flatbed area is in a 2x2x2 configuration, meaning that if you're at the window seat like I was, you'll still have to walk around someone else if you need to use the bathroom. I know, first world issues. But like I said, not a deal breaker, but just something that I thought I'd mention. Luckily, no one came for the aisle seat in my row, and so I had the whole row to myself anyway. But since we're doing a flight review, I thought that I would mention this in case you have the same preferences as I do. The aircraft itself is very clean and also in a fairly new condition. One of the first things they will serve you is some water and ask if you would like your meal immediately after takeoff or later on closer to landing time. I was on an early morning flight, and so basically I was asked if I would either like breakfast or a late lunch. I decided to go with a late lunch because I was so tired. More on why later. But this brings me quite easily to my favorite part about this flight. And spoiler alert, this alone made the entire flight worth it in my opinion. And that is that they do provide you with a pillow and blanket, but more importantly, look you guys, the seat reclines all the way to 180 degrees so that you can actually sleep. And listen, I don't know if my judgment is a little bit skewed because I basically had zero sleep the night before. It was my last night in Kuala Lumpur and I had a pretty big night out, which lasted to around 4 a.m. before I then rushed off to the Kuala Lumpur International Airport to catch my flight at 6. Live life, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Anyway, just maybe it was because of this, but I had the best sleep of my life. I was basically knocked out as soon as the flight took off and did not wake up till we were about 2 or 3 hours away from Sydney. I was then served my meal, which was a nasi lemak with chicken curry. I'm Malaysian, and so again, this might be a bit biased, but the santan meals on AirAsia flights never disappoints. And this nasi lemak was no exception. Now, much like the AirAsia economy, there's also no in-flight entertainment in the premium flatbed section, but this was something that I was aware of prior to the flight, which is why I didn't include this in my initial vent list. I pre-downloaded an entire season of a show called Karma on Netflix, which is so good by the way, you have to watch it, and basically binged on that series whilst having my complimentary meal. The meal also came with some coffee, so I had that and another little nap before the flight arrived in Sydney at around 8 p.m. My thoughts on the AirAsia Premium Flatbed might be pretty clear by this stage, but just in case you haven't been following, allow me to summarize. 1, you basically get a business class experience at the price of a standard economy ticket from a non-budget airlines. Which 2, whilst not apple for a business class experience at a premium airline such as Singapore Airlines for example, all the elements or features that are important in a business class experience for me are included in an AirAsia Premium Flatbed experience. And so given the price point, I think it's unbeatable. 3, the food is always surprisingly good for a low-cost carrier. Again, I might be a bit biased with this because I'm Malaysian, and so my natural preferences when it comes to food is going to be Malaysian food, but I have also certainly had worse food on other non-low-cost airlines. And 4, if what's important to you is that you get a good rest before you land so that you are able to hit the ground running at your point of destination, then the AirAsia Premium Flatbed is definitely going to deliver on that promise. Personally, after this experience, I think that the Premium Flatbed option is the only option for me when flying AirAsia flights, especially on long-haul flights. Hey guys, it's Editing Steve here, jumping back in to add in a little rant because based on my previous flight review experiences, I know that inevitably my comment section will have comments such as, oh, but Singapore Airlines is better. Oh, but Emirates Airlines is better. How dare you say AirAsia is the best? So let me be clear. Comparing the AirAsia Premium Flatbed to premium airlines such as Singapore Airlines or Emirates, it's like comparing an apple to an orange. To illustrate, imagine Singapore Airlines or Emirates to be a chocolate cake and the AirAsia Premium X experience to be a diet version of a chocolate cake. And then having someone say that the real cake tastes better. Well, of course it's gonna taste better, duh. It's full of sugar, fat, and all the good stuff. Not to mention that someone who eats a cake versus someone who eats a diet cake want different things. In the very same line, premium airline customers will pay a premium price for a premium experience that's unlike any other. Whereas the AirAsia Premium Flatbed allows traditionally budget-conscious travelers to move up to mid-tier and experience a budget business class without that traditional hefty price tag. And when you compare it within its own category of low-cost carriers, the price versus the benefits you get is pretty much unbeatable. It is a smart marketing move from the airlines and a free marketing 101 lesson for you. End rant, and back to the video we go. Anyway, I do hope that you found value in this video, and if you have, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, all the good things that you know are going to appease those holy YouTube algorithm gods, but much more importantly, will just make my day as a content creator. Specifically, if you have a comment or feedback for me, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section as I do love hearing from you. I will also link 2 more flight reviews at the end of this video that you may wish to check out. One is my review of the AirAsia economy flight, and the second is my rather controversial video on the Scoot Airlines economy flight, so that you can go ahead and watch either of those next. By the way, I should introduce myself if you're new to the channel. I'm Steve from the Fat Life Project, and I do much more than just flight reviews. In fact, the majority of my content are actually first-timer travel guides to cities around the world, containing absolutely everything you need to know to prepare for your trip, and also everything that you need to see, eat, try, and do in these cities. If that is your vibe, definitely check out my profile. I've segmented my content by country, and also subscribe so that we can go on more adventures together. And if you got to this point of the video, thank you so much for watching. I know I say this every single week, but that's only because I genuinely mean it when I say this means absolutely everything. I do hope that you have a fantastic day ahead, or that you've already had a good day. As always, I will see you real soon in the next video. Ciao!